All right, so if we can start off, I've got an article from Accounting Today called Five Steps to Keep Business Development Alive in the Pandemic. And so basically this author is trying to give an idea, written towards CPA firms, and it's trying to give an idea of how to keep sales going throughout this trying time. And his take on it is to break it down into five steps that you can do. His steps are to dig into old pipelines. So go back and talk to clients that you maybe talked to 6 months to a year ago. To reframe what business development means. So if you used to go to like networking events that were in person, he believes you should do virtual networking. Take value virtual, which can mean a lot of things, but basically to try to make your sales pitch in a digital way. And then monetize and capitalize on content. And then finally, sample your innovations. So that's the idea of maybe changing your billing structure. If you've had something you've always wanted to try during this time, maybe the pandemic is a really good time to give that a try. And so I wanted to kind of get you guys' take on whether these sound reasonable to you, and if maybe there are a few more things that belong in the list that the author didn't mention.
No, I think it matches what we've discussed internally on this podcast publicly, where, and Ty said it before, never waste a good crisis to reevaluate everything. And I think that's definitely true with, reevaluating your business, but even more so in how you're developing clients. Because I think beyond anything, this pandemic's probably shift how we interact with each other more. And I think, we've talked about it on the podcast, I think remote work and this Zoom kind of meeting thing is here to stay even after we lift all the restrictions. And so, kind of the last few months have been, getting your feet underneath you and getting moving forward. But I definitely think that business development needs to be on everybody's mind going forward, because you're going to have a new normal here pretty soon that we're going to come out the other side from this. And how then do you, kind of shift streams to match that new normal? I think one of the big things is what we're doing on this podcast is pumping out a lot of content around things that we feel strongly about and talking about those issues openly and open for discussion. And I mean, we'd love comments coming back and having a back and forth discussion with our viewers on these things, as well as each other. I mean, we lean on each other a lot to kind of think about these things through. And I guess I feel really fortunate to be in a company and with friends that we can kind of, and coworkers that we can bounce these ideas off of. And we're a very agile firm to be able to make those changes to switch to like a digital marketing strategy or remote work, or be able to quickly change stream and, change up services that we're offering and pivoting and steering more into one side of the business than the other, because that's what's available at the time and what seems to be the demand from customers at the time. Also, coupled with that, then changing how our sales pipeline comes in. Where are we receiving our new clients from? And then expanding upon that and doubling down on the places that we're getting good referrals from, and we're getting a good sales pipeline for customers we can help, and we can, steer in the right direction that way. So I think the article's spot on, and it kind of is, confirms what we've all been talking about for the longest time. So I guess it's kind of good, like to hear it from an outside source that I think we're kind of thinking the right way if we agree with the article.
Yeah, and I think what I appreciate about the article is just kind of the listing of some of those things you listed, Charlie. It's somewhat confirmatory because, what AJ was talking about, kind of the concept of working our network and trying to work that digitally. Our firm does CFO advisory services and outsourced accounting, which is kind of the non-traditional services for CPA and accounting firms. And so what we've been doing a lot in the last 10 months is working a lot with our network and our colleagues that are other accountants and CPAs who maybe do more of the traditional services, and letting them know what we do. And we've found that's like our best lead source, because other accountants understand better what we do more than anyone else. They know what they do, and they know kind of how we might fit into that in terms of what we do. So, other tax preparers, for example, who know, well, TCA doesn't prepare taxes, but they do outsourced accounting to help clean up some books before the taxes get prepared. Or if you have a client that is looking to go out for a loan or is looking to get an audit or something else and needs to get their books cleaned up before that, those are the kinds of services that we do in the outsourced accounting on top of kind of the CFO advisory piece, which is the cash flow planning and forecasting, which a lot of traditional accounting firms don't do those kind of services. And so when this coronavirus crisis hit, we were kind of starting to hit our stride. Being a relatively new business, we're only a few years old here, because we kind of I came out of being a partner in a regular public accounting firm, came out of that, and then started this practice and was already trying to do something a little bit different with it, right? And you guys came along and joined me. And so here we were doing this, and pre-coronavirus, we were starting to hit our stride with kind of this one-on-one kind of networking, whether it was going to coffee or going to lunches or doing continuing education events or whatever. And then coronavirus hits and everybody has to stay at home and we can't do those things anymore. And so for me, like, the thing that made sense to jump to do right away was, well, if we can't go to coffee and we can't go to lunch, let's reach out to our network and let's just start having Zoom call sessions with the same, this group of people that we network with. Let's keep in touch with them. Let's make sure we know how they're doing and kind of exchange information about what we hear about things going on in business and what they hear, and all of that. Let's keep that up. And so that's what I've been doing. But I've had this sinking feeling in my head of, well, is that right? Am I just taking kind of an analog methodology and pushing it into a digital world and totally missing the boat? So yeah, I think, having looked at that article and in kind of what you were saying, it sounds like they're kind of advising to do something similar to what we're doing on here. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, totally. I think it is. And it's like, it's easy to feel down because the pandemic happened and it's hard to keep sales going during the pandemic, but you really got to think and realize, well, that's happening to everybody else too. So we're on a level playing field, and now it's a question of just how we adapt to that. And like you said, I think that doing these virtual things is really just the best way to make use of the technology that we have.